You ever feel like you were just kind of accidentally born? Like your very existence was a scheduling error? Welcome to my childhood. Let's rewind. I'm one of three siblings, middle child, the forgotten bookmark wedged between two very different lives. My mom is 71 now, my dad's 69, and their parenting style could be best described as gold medal in emotional neglect. They had my older brother first. He was 6 years older than me, and the poster child for perfect son. Picture a young Marlon Brando but with cleats and charisma. Dude was a high school football star and local celebrity and somehow made even average grades look charming. Everyone loved him, especially my parents. Me? I was surprised. The oops. My mom never outright said, "You ruined my plans," but she had this amazing ability to mention that I wasn't planned like it was a charming fun fact. You know, the kind you say with a smile that somehow still cuts like a paper-thin insult. Oh, you were a little surprised, weren't you? Yeah, a surprise like taxes. To be clear, I wasn't unloved. I was just kind of background noise. If my brother was the movie, I was the trailer no one watches. But hey, I had him. He wasn't just a sibling. He was my protector, my cheerleader, and sometimes the only adult in the room when our actual parents decided to act like toddlers with a mortgage. He taught me how to stand up to bullies, sometimes those bullies were our parents, and showed me how to believe in myself when no one else did. And while he wasn't exactly a brainiac, he pulled straight CS. He was the kind of guy who could walk into any room and walk out with friends. The kind of guy who paid attention when no one else would. Then, when I was 10, he died. One second he was out jogging, the next he was gone, hit by a drunk driver in broad daylight. I still remember the knock on the door. The way my mom collapsed. The way my dad didn't say a word for hours. The golden child was gone, and suddenly all that love they had for him? It didn't transfer to me. It imploded. Their grief didn't unite us. It broke everything. My parents spiraled into a pit of regret and denial and turned their eyes on me like I was some kind of flawed replacement. I remember one night, in the middle of a particularly brutal passive-aggressive dinner, my dad said something like, "He would have been a great man. You've got big shoes to fill." As if I'd somehow forgotten my own brother died. As if I was supposed to step into his life like it was a pair of hand-me-down sneakers. Then came my sister, 10 years younger than me. The new project. She arrived while I was still trying to figure out how to grieve and exist in a family that seemed to have no space for me anymore. Overnight, I became the live-in babysitter, the homework helper, the older brother who was neither adored nor supported. They poured everything into her: attention, praise, money. All the stuff they used to give my brother and never spared for me. Meanwhile, I turned into the family's ghost. I was always there, always helping, always quietly achieving. And still, it was like I didn't exist. So what did I do? I overachieved. I worked harder than anyone expected. I got perfect grades, won science fairs, and pulled myself into top-tier schools. Not because I loved the grind, but because some tiny, desperate part of me thought maybe, if I was impressive enough, they'd finally notice me. Spoiler, they didn't. I graduated near the top of my class. They didn't throw a party. They barely even clapped. My dad muttered something about how I was the salutatorian and not the valedictorian, like that was the point. My mom took a few pictures and then asked my sister if she was bored. I stood there in my gown, wondering what it would have taken to matter. Eventually, I gave up on mattering to them. I packed my things and moved across the country for college. They didn't protest, didn't cry, didn't offer help. I don't think my dad even looked up from the TV when I said goodbye. And now? Now they're calling. Because suddenly, their little forgotten son isn't so forgettable anymore, not when they need money. So after a decade of near radio silence, no birthday calls, no holiday texts, not even a "Hey, are you alive?" my phone lights up. Mom. My first reaction? Honestly, I thought someone had died. That's the only logical reason they'd be reaching out now, right? Wrong. She was calling to chat. Casual, like we hadn't spent years pretending I was a background character in a family drama they forgot to finish writing. At first, I played along. I figured maybe they'd mellowed with age. Maybe retirement brought some wisdom. Maybe they'd found a box of old photos and realized I existed in more than just the edges. But no, they had an agenda. Turns out that my sister, the baby of the family, the princess, the one they spared no expense for, had hit a rough patch. Translation: she married a loser at 19, called that, by the way, got divorced recently, and now she's broke, unemployed, and moved back in with mom and dad. And who do they think should step up and help? Bingo. I'm not just a son now, I'm a successful big brother. And according to my mom, I'm in a great position to help. And wouldn't it be so classy and generous of me to cover my sister's next round of college? Because obviously, modern art wasn't exactly a thriving career path, and now she wants to go back to school for something more practical. Here's the kicker. This is the same sister whose entire life was funded by them. College? Paid for. Wedding? Lavish. The guy she married? Red flags on fire, but they adored him. Meanwhile, I was paying my own way through school, grinding through double shifts, and getting backhanded compliments like, "You're doing okay, considering." Now that their golden girl has fallen off the pedestal, they look at me like a golden ATM with a guilt button. I asked my mom why she thought I should be the one to help. She said, and I quote, "Because you weren't really around for her when she was growing up. You left so early. She barely got to know you." Ma'am, I left because you gave me no reason to stay. You barely knew me. And what's worse, she made it sound like I owed them this. Like my success wasn't mine, but theirs by extension. "We raised you to be strong," she said. Raised me? No, I raised myself. In a house where praise was reserved for the dead son and the baby girl, I was just the one expected to disappear quietly. But I didn't disappear. I built something. A career in aerospace. A stable, happy family. A house. 2 luxury cars. And yes, I make great money now. But that didn't fall from the sky. It came from sacrifice, isolation, and a lot of therapy. So I asked her, would you have asked my brother to fund my degree if the roles were reversed? She hesitated. That pause? That's when I knew. No, they wouldn't have. Because they valued him in life, they mourned him in death, and they never even tried to hide that he was their favorite. Now they want to reframe my financial success as an obligation? As the price of surviving their emotional neglect? Absolutely not. Of course, they didn't take the no well. My mom got weepy. My dad didn't say anything, which is his usual move when he knows he's in the wrong. And my sister? She texted me a half-hearted, "I totally understand if you can't help, but it would mean a lot" message, followed by a screenshot of some grad program she's eyeing. I'll give her credit, she's not dumb. Hey guys, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if you have any feedback. Let's go to the story. She knows how to phrase things to keep the guilt sharp, and the ask just shy of begging. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized something. They didn't reach out to reconnect. They reached out to cash in. And for the first time in years, I felt completely, unapologetically done playing the role they wrote for me. It's a special kind of psychological warfare when the same people who made you feel like a ghost growing up suddenly reappear like you're the family messiah, because they need money. I started getting messages regularly. Subtle at first. "Hope you're well. Just wanted to check in. Your dad isn't sleeping much these days." And then the less subtle ones. "Your sister's really struggling. She's always looked up to you, you know. You've always been so smart and capable. Maybe now's your chance to be there for her." Be there? You mean in the way no one was ever there for me? Let me rewind. Growing up, I wasn't just overshadowed by my golden boy brother. I was made to compete with his memory. You want to talk trauma? Try being 16, winning a statewide science competition, and having your dad say, "Well, your brother was more of a hands-on guy, but still, good job, I guess." When I got into college on a full-ride scholarship, after working part-time and teaching piano to pay for travel and application fees, they acted like I'd announced I was moving to Mars. Not a proud tear, not a celebratory dinner. Just, "Guess you're leaving us too, huh?" They didn't visit. Not once. And when I sent photos from my graduation, my mom's only reply was, "You look thin. Are you eating?" That was the level of emotional support. Meanwhile, my sister got a car for her high school graduation. They flew across the country to visit her twice during her freshman year. When she changed majors 3 times, they never flinched. And her wedding? A full production venue, catering, dress, DJ, honeymoon, the works. I gave her $5,000 as a gift. Played piano at her reception. Stood next to her smiling parents while they beamed like they'd raised royalty. And now? She's divorced. The guy I always knew was a walking red flag finally proved it. No job, no child support, and a 6-year-old daughter caught in the wreckage. And I, the long-forgotten son, am supposed to clean it up? My mom's logic is that you're doing well, and it would be a beautiful gesture to help out. Beautiful. Like this is some Hallmark movie where the prodigal son shows up and saves the day with a checkbook and a forgiving heart. And here's the twist. It's not just about my sister. This is about them. The parents who watched me go to war with the world, and with myself, and never once threw me a rope. The parents who thought grief gave them a free pass to treat me like I was Plan B. The ones who saw me as a shadow until I got a corner office and 2 6-figure vehicles. Now, they call me your successful brother. Now, they want me to be the man of the family. Now they care. Sort of. Even my dad, the emotional mannequin, chimed in through my mom. He says it would mean a lot if you helped out. Your sister needs someone now. Really? Where was he when I needed someone? When I was 17, drowning in student loan paperwork and scrubbing Rite Aid floors between classes. And don't get me wrong, this isn't about the money. I could help. Financially, I'm in a position most people dream about. I worked my ass off for it, built a career in aerospace, married an incredible woman, and raised two amazing kids who will never wonder if they're loved. But that's the thing. My success isn't a cosmic refund for their failures. It's not a debt owed. And I won't let them act like it is. What hurts more than the ask is the entitlement. The complete lack of recognition for what I went through to get here. They skipped the whole story and just showed up for the credits, expecting an invite to the after party. So I started thinking, if I were to help, what would it mean? Would it make them love me more? No. Would it make up for the years of absence, the ignored birthdays, the backhanded compliments? Not even close. It would just teach them that even after everything, I'm still the one who gives. And they're still the ones who take. After weeks of marinating in passive-aggressive texts, subtle guilt trips, and the sudden resurrection of a family that had treated me like a ghost for 2 decades, I sat down with my wife. That's what you do when you're part of a real team. You talk. You plan. You don't just react to emotionally manipulative emails from your estranged mom. We talked about the niece. The one innocent person in this train wreck of a situation. 6 years old. Blameless. Caught in the fallout of her mom's impulsive choices and my parents' decades of enabling. And suddenly, everything clicked. I wasn't going to rescue my sister. I wasn't going to hand money to the same parents who once told me I'd never measure up. But I would invest in the one person who still had a shot at a clean slate. So I called a family meeting. Yeah, like a full-blown, let's all sit down and talk about this like adults kind of meeting. And let me tell you, they were shocked. I don't think they expected me to even respond, much less organize a sit-down. My parents showed up early, of course. Mom brought her usual faux-concerned face and a tray of cookies like that was going to soften the blow of decades of emotional absenteeism. Dad? Quiet as ever, barely made eye contact. My sister arrived last, tired, clearly overwhelmed, but also with this expression like she was expecting a check with her name on it. I laid it out. I'm not going to pay for another round of college. I don't believe that's what you need right now. But what I will do is invest in your daughter's future. Silence. Like actual, can't hear the wall clock ticking silence. I kept going. I've set up a dedicated college fund for my niece. It'll grow over the years. She'll have options when the time comes, real ones. I'll contribute to it monthly. And if she wants mentorship or guidance, I'm here for her. Always. My sister's face dropped. Not in a wow, that's generous way, in a wait, I don't get anything kind of way. My mom broke the silence first. Well, that's very thoughtful of you. We were just hoping you might be willing to help your sister directly. She's trying so hard. Yeah, trying. After draining them dry and moving back in like a boomerang with debt. My sister said, I just thought, since you're doing so well. I nodded. I am. And I got here by making smart choices, not bailing out people who ignored me until they needed something. There it was. My dad finally spoke. One sentence. It's your money. Do what you want with it. And you know what? That was probably the closest thing to an apology I was ever going to get from him. The meeting ended without fireworks. Just quiet exits and awkward goodbyes. No hugs. No thank yous. But I didn't care. Because for the first time in forever, I felt peace. I hadn't given in. I hadn't fed the cycle of entitlement and guilt. I had chosen my terms, my boundaries, my version of support. I went home, hugged my wife, and we poured a glass of wine. My kids were watching cartoons. The house felt calm. And for the first time in years, so did I. And you know what? A week later, my niece FaceTimed me. Just saying hi. No prompts, no parent in the background. Just her. She wanted to tell me about a book she was reading. Something clicked. This is what matters. Not appeasing people who never showed up for me, but showing up for someone who still has time to learn what love, respect, and support really look like. So, the family meeting? It didn't go down like a Lifetime movie where everyone hugs at the end and cries into casseroles. It went down like a corporate boardroom getting a surprise audit. Everyone left dazed, confused, and just a little pissed that the rich kid in the family turned out to have boundaries. The next morning, my phone was quiet. Too quiet. Which in my family means they're regrouping. By the end of the week, the subtle backlash had begun. It started with a text from my mom. You could practically smell the martyrdom dripping off each word. We understand your decision, even if it was unexpected and a little disappointing. Just wish you considered how hard things have been for your sister. She really needed her big brother. My big brother? The one who never got piano lessons? The one who was told, why not valedictorian? The one who got zero college support but was expected to play piano at his sister's wedding and throw down $5,000 like a magician pulling money out of nowhere? Cool. Then came the group chat energy. My cousin randomly messaged me with, "Hey, I heard there was some tension with your folks. Everything okay?" This means someone is already shopping around for their version of events. Probably a script that paints me as cold, prideful, and too rich for empathy. You know what? Let them talk. Because here's what no one wants to say out loud. Entitlement doesn't evaporate just because you slap a "we're family" sticker on it. My sister was frustrated. Visibly. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't cave. She thought the check was already written. She thought being the struggling single mom would override 2 decades of silence. And look, I do feel bad for her. Life kicked her hard. Divorce sucks. Raising a kid alone is brutal. But she's not powerless. She's not helpless. And she's certainly not entitled to my bank account just because we share DNA. What none of them expected was that I'd be the one to cut through the emotion and see the long game. Because here's what would have happened if I said yes to paying for her next degree. She enrolls in a program she might not finish. She struggles with motivation, drops out again, or ends up underemployed. My parents guilt me into just helping a little more to keep her afloat. Rinse and repeat until my kids are college age, and suddenly, I'm the one scrambling. And worst of all, they'd never thank me. Because when you expect something, you don't appreciate it. You demand more. So no, I'm not heartless. I'm just realistic. I've watched this family run the same playbook since I was a kid. Pour everything into the favorite child, ignore the one who quietly succeeds, then return to him when the chosen ones need rescuing. They think because I've made it, I owe it to the family that couldn't be bothered to show up to my award ceremonies. But guess what? Success doesn't erase neglect. It doesn't rewrite birthdays I spent alone. It doesn't fix graduation days where the loudest applause I got was from strangers. It doesn't balance the emotional bank account they never deposited in. I'm not cold. I'm just finally warm to myself. My wife. My kids. My niece now knows she has someone in her corner, even if it's not her own mother leading the charge. The weirdest part? Since the meeting, my dad hasn't said a single word. No call. No email. Just silence. And knowing him? That silence means one of 2 things. Either he's ashamed and doesn't know how to face it, or he's still hoping I'll cave. But I won't. Because I didn't get here by bending. I got here by surviving a family that only looked my way when the golden child died, and again when the golden girl stumbled. Let's talk about my niece. 6 years old, bright-eyed, quick with questions, and somehow, miraculously, untouched by the drama swirling around her like a tornado of entitlement and generational dysfunction. In the weeks following the infamous family meeting, she's been the only one who's consistently reached out to me. Not my mom. Not my sister. Not even my dad, who still hasn't broken his vow of awkward silence. But her? She FaceTimed me just to show me a book she was reading. A book about space. I nearly cried. Not because I'm soft, okay, maybe a little, but because I saw myself in that moment, the little boy who loved science and stars but got told, "That's your brother's piano, not yours," and, well, engineering's nice, but your sister's art is special. She doesn't know the full story, of course. She doesn't know how badly her mom and grandparents failed me. She just knows I'm cool uncle insert name, the one who listens to her talk about nebulae and planets and says, "Tell me more." We've started a thing now. Every Saturday morning, we do a quick video chat. 10, 15 minutes. She picks a topic. I listen, ask questions, and maybe send her a little something in the mail afterward. A space-themed coloring book. A puzzle. A telescope is coming soon. I don't spoil her. I support her. Because that's the difference no one in this family ever grasped. Support isn't about throwing money at problems. It's about presence. It's about showing up, not just for photo ops or when it's convenient, but consistently, quietly, and patiently. And being there for her? It's healing me too. She's the first blood relative to treat me like a person worth knowing. Not a disappointment in progress, not a wallet. Just me. She doesn't know I wasn't at her mom's graduation, that I wasn't invited to family holidays for years. That's what her grandparents once said to my face. You should try being more like your brother. All she knows is I show up. And that's enough. My wife noticed the difference too. She told me, "You're lighter these days." I asked what she meant. She said, "It's like, you're finally giving your energy to someone who deserves it." And she's right. Because I spent so much of my life trying to make people see me. Trying to win love that should have been given freely. And when I finally stopped playing that game, I got something better. Peace. Purpose. And the start of a bond that matters. Sometimes, I wonder what will happen as my niece gets older. Will she ask questions about why her mom and I don't talk much? Will she notice the cracks in the family photo album? Maybe. But maybe by then, she'll have a new model for what support looks like. Not the kind built on guilt, but the kind built on trust. The funny thing is, my parents haven't once asked how she's doing with me. They haven't asked what I'm teaching her, or if we're close. I think they assume I wrote a check and moved on. Let them assume. Because I didn't just write a check. I rewrote the story. If you told 15-year-old me, sitting alone in my room after my parents skipped yet another awards night, that someday I'd be the one with all the power, I wouldn't have believed you. Back then, all I wanted was a little recognition. We're proud of you. You matter. Instead, I got silence. I got comparison. I got a front row seat to my own irrelevance. But now, the tables turned. I'm the one with stability, with success, with a family that hugs without strings attached. I'm the one being asked to do the right thing when no one ever did it for me. And I did do the right thing, but on my terms. Because here's the truth, boundaries aren't about being cold. They're about knowing your worth. I chose to protect my peace. I chose to help the one person in this mess who hasn't asked for anything, my niece. I chose not to reward a system that failed me, not because I'm bitter, but because I've grown past it. Do I still get messages from my mom? Of course. Little passive-aggressive texts like, "Your sister's been looking at part-time jobs. Maybe you can send her something to keep her spirits up." No, Mom. I'm not a walking morale booster. I'm not a bank with a sad song playing in the background. I'm just a guy who survived this family and came out the other side whole. My dad? Still quiet. Which, honestly, is a blessing. If he ever breaks the silence, I hope it's not to guilt me again. Because I'm not playing that game anymore. And my sister? She hasn't reached out directly. I think part of her expected I'd eventually cave. But I haven't. Because I've learned something crucial. When you start setting boundaries, the people who benefited from you having none will always take it personally. And that's not my problem. I've spent years trying to justify my success. To make it palatable. Less threatening. Less of a spotlight on the family's failures. But no more. I earned this life. I didn't luck into it. I wasn't handed anything. I fought tooth and nail for it, while they were busy mourning what I wasn't. So, no, I won't apologize for being proud of what I've built. I won't apologize for not writing a blank check just because someone shares my blood. I won't apologize for choosing my kid's future over my sister's second chance fantasy. And I definitely won't apologize for being the kind of parent, husband, and mentor my family never figured out how to be. Do I hope my sister gets her life together? Sure. Do I wish my parents had done better? Of course. But do I feel guilty for finally protecting myself and investing in someone who deserves it? Not for a single damn second. This is what healing looks like. This is what boundaries look like. And this is my life now.